Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new fantasy football season. We're so excited to have you back with us. We are the Fantasy Gurus podcast, of course, your number one podcast for fantasy football information. Make sure you go down there,
Bingo.
just hit the subscribe button if you want. You don't have to,
Yes,
but
sir.
we're not forceful. But my name's Jay Quinn, and I'm here with my man JJ Walsh. And we're just gonna kind of get the season kicked off with a little bit of consensus rankings for this year. I'm super
Yes,
excited.
sir. Yes, sir. Let's
I'm
get
super
it.
excited. So we're going to start off with our running backs. This year, running backs are very interesting, in my opinion, because a lot of what is going into this year is based off what we saw last year. And as much as I don't necessarily like that, I do think that there are some things that we have to take away. So we have Jonathan Taylor at the one, we have Christian McCaffrey at the two, we have Austin Eckler at the three, and we have Dalvin Cook at the four and Derrick Henry at the five. Those are our top five running backs this year. Um, Jonathan Taylor obviously was the number one option last year, number one fantasy performer. He's just going into his third year. He's only getting better with a new, better quarterback, in my opinion. Christian McCaffrey, you could say is number one because he has the highest ceiling by far, but there are those injury concerns, and he has a much worse O line than the Colts. JJ, why don't you tell us why we have Dalvin Cook higher than guys like Najee Harris and Derrick Henry?
Yeah. We look at a guy like I'll talk about Dalvin in a second, but you look at a guy like Derrick Henry, just a guy who goes seven, 1 week he'll go 40, the next week 25, 40. You just can't have inconsistency like that in the fantasy, and then especially in a PPR league like most people play in. No receptions, not that much. There's so many new guys on that offense that they're gonna have to throw the ball to, and Tannehill kind of has a chip on his shoulder this year. I don't think Derrick Henry is gonna, be a very, very, very effective player. He's still gonna be an effective player, obviously, but Najee Harris, Trubisky, Pickett, you know, even Rudolph, maybe if those guys get hurt, but like those are all newer guys that have to prove themselves, especially Pickett. And Trubisky's been there since 2017 in the league. He's still got something to prove, and I feel like they're going to focus on QBs so much. And Najee, he had a couple like good weeks last year. He was overall good fantasy player, but when you look at a guy like Dalvin Cook, I feel like his role is going to be way bigger. He has the abilities to catch passes. He's a good overall PPR back, and if he stays healthy, easily a like we have him top four running back for the fantasy league this year.
Absolutely. So going into our bottom half of the top five, we have Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, and Nick Chubb. Little disclaimer. As of right now, we have no idea what Alvin Kamara's suspension is going to look like, or if he'll even have one. We do know that his court date was pushed back to late September, so he will not be playing in the first couple games, it looks like. But obviously, if he does end up playing the full season, he will be a top three or four running back, in our opinion. But I would steer clear of him in the early second round, like he should be going normally. If you can snag him in the late second round, go ahead and get him, obviously. DeAndre Swift, personally, I think could be a league winner this year. Um, I think that he has so much upside. He's young. I'm pretty sure he was running back five last year before his injury happened. So all he has is upside. And Jamal Williams is going to be taking just a back seat. And this offense is getting much better, in my opinion. I think the Lions have the best chance to overtake. I saw a tweet the other day that was like, which bottom team in a division has the best chance to win it? And I said the Lions have the best chance to win the NFC North. So I do like DeAndre Swift a lot. You can't see it, but Leonard Fournette is at 12. Um, I was struggling putting Nick Chubb over Leonard Fournette, but I am a little worried about Leonard Fournette just based off what we've heard weight wise. I still like him a lot, and if you can look past that, I think I would take him above Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones personally. But for now, with the weight concerns, I'm gonna stick with Nick Chubb ahead.
Yeah, the consensus rankings and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Going on to our next slide, we have 13 through 20 for running backs. Javonta Williams is our just outside that top 12 for me. I think Javonta is looking really good, really healthy. With Russell Wilson, I think their offense is just going to be much more alive. And I think Melvin Gordon is primarily going to be a third down back this year. So if you're worried about him splitting carries, I don't think it'll be split at all. evenly. I think obviously Melvin Gordon will get touches because they're paying him, but I think Javonta is potentially a running back two caliber player. Um, Saquon Barkley, Dave Montgomery, both kind of a similar player. They're both on really bad teams. They both had injuries last year, and they both struggled to find their footing getting back. Um, JJ liked Saquon over Dave Montgomery. Can you tell us why you like him over Dave Montgomery this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've had Dave Montgomery, I think the past 2 years on my fantasy team, and it's just um, there's something in David Montgomery that just makes you, feel like unsettled. You know, there's just no way for him to score over 30 that often. I mean, you see, like even in his best weeks, like that 1 year in his last 6 games of the year, he went like, his highest game was like 28, but he was so consistent at that. So that's why I like David Montgomery. But I mean, injury concerns, like we said, with both Barkley and Montgomery. But I do see the Giants being a lot better team this year. Brand new coaching staff. I've been watching a lot of their videos on training camp. Like I've actually kind of become a little bit of a fan of the Giants, just following their journey because I like a lot of their players, even though I am a Cowboys fan. But if Barkley can stay healthy, he's been alive in training camp. And I mean, it's still Saquon Barkley we're talking about here, that
Yeah,
explosive guy from Penn State. And, I just like him a lot. I mean, if he can stay healthy and he can get back, to Saquon Barkley like that we know and love, I mean, I could easily, he's the only guy on this list that can be a, top five RB1 at the end of the year. I feel like the biggest chance.
definitely. This list is filled with a bunch of people who, in my opinion, have a lot of upside. I think the biggest backlash that I've gotten over people looking at this list is how low we have Zeke, and they think that he's gonna have a bounce back year. He's gonna just glue with this offense now that they've lost a lot of their pieces. Their O line is still really good. I just don't like drafting Zeke because his catching upside is so low because Tony Pollard is there. I am not a Cowboys fan, but I am from Dallas. So all I hear about is Cowboys news and stuff. And just watching their games last year, I think, wow, Tony Pollard is a way better downfield running back than Zeke. I mean, yeah, sure, Zeke will get you 4 yards up a carry. Like he's power and he'll get you goal line touches for sure. But you look at how many touchdowns Dak threw last year. I mean, their passing game is going to be what if anything what wins them the division is going to be they have to have a good passing game. And Zeke, I'm not a big fan. I would stay away from him. You could honestly make for this side of the list 13 through 20, you could honestly switch up any of these guys. um but this is kind of the list that we have settled on based off of upside, previous performances, and just what we liked out of training camp. JJ loves Travis Etienne this year. He's one of his sleepers. JJ, what are we liking about Travis Etienne?
Yeah, just real quick, like feeding off what you said. I mean, there's a lot of backlash coming to Zeke, especially with like his weight concerns, along with Leonard Fournette. Like pictures have been coming out of training camp videos, but I think most of that, like I still do like Zeke a little bit. I mean, it was just kind of like the outfit he was wearing made him look really big, but he's always just been like a bigger back. That's just kind of what he's become. But I mean, it's just everyone. If you're a true Cowboy fan or just any normal NFL fan that's not a casual, you know that Tony Pollard is a way better back all around than Ezekiel Elliott. Yes, we all miss Zeke from 2016, 2017, but I mean, it's a whole different team now, and I just feel like Zeke is just Zeke, and there's no like upside for him. And 19 is just like I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes like 19 or maybe worse. I just don't see him finishing any higher. And like I said, Travis Etienne finally healthy. James Robinson takes a back seat. I mean, might not even, play that much. And, you know, college quarterback Trevor Lawrence, I expect a big year out of Trevor Lawrence. I like, that offense run by Doug Peterson. And so, yeah, I just like a really good year from Travis Etienne. You see a lot of trends, running backs that get hurt, that come back and, they're really good. But that's kind of rare, but I do see Etienne feeling that. Same with J.K.
Yeah.
Dobbins. They're both kind of in the same realm.
Yeah. By the way, for this list, 21 is easily Brees Hall. We were trying to find a way to put Brees Hall on the list, but we didn't really find a spot that we liked for him just because of what we've seen from Michael Carter and know that he is a primary pass catcher. And listen, I think Brees Hall could be top 10 running back. Absolutely. I mean, you would agree, right? Like just
Yeah.
with that offense, they are getting significantly better. Um, I really like Brees Hall. He's definitely 21 for us. But yeah, this list right here, take it as you will. This is what we're confident as, taking into account everything I just mentioned. All right, moving on to our top 12 wide receivers this year. No doubt, top three are set in stone. Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I think that order is very sound, as well as just the people in it. I mean, honestly, I think Jamar Chase could be the number one guy. I think Justin Jefferson could be the number one guy. I think Cooper Kupp could just be as good as he was last year. I just see that because their offense, while they did add Allen Robinson, they lost OBJ, obviously, and Robert Woods when he was still playing well when Robert Woods was healthy as a Ram, and now he's gone as well. So yes, they do have Allen Robinson, they do have Van Jefferson, but I don't know. I still like Cooper Cup at number one. Now 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that whole clump right there from Diggs down to CeeDee Lamb is completely up to what you are comfortable with. I don't think I would have a problem drafting any of these guys in the mid to late second round, even in the early second round if you're going to get a guy like Diggs. Um, but I do know that JJ made a really good point about why he doesn't think Devo Samuel is going to have the same kind of performances he did last year. So why don't you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, Debo's obviously explosive. I mean, he's so versatile. He's a wide back as he likes to call himself. But the thing about Debo is, um, all the reports out of San Fran are just like, Lance, 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 Lance. Like we want Lance to start. He is going to start, and it's just kind of like you know, he Trey Lance has got to prove himself. Yes, he has questions about his throwing, but he can rush, and I just don't feel like. I mean, yeah, Jimmy G was average, but Jimmy G could, run the offense that they wanted to run with Debo so much better than I think Lance can. I'm not saying Lance will be a bad player, but I feel like Debo just won't have as many opportunities as he did last year because they relied so heavily on Debo last year. And so I just feel like he's still going to be good, but I just don't see him over a guy like Devontae Adams or Diggs or, even Tyreek Hill might take on the Debo role this year in Miami. And so, it's just like that's just pretty much the situation that we have him in.
Yeah. Bottom, rounding out the bottom of our top 12, we have Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, AJ Brown, and T. Higgins. Um, Obviously, we are about a month, actually exactly a month away, or a month and a day away from when the season starts. So there's still things out there that can happen. But Keenan Allen is just a guy who's going to go out there and get you 17 a week. I mean, he's never going to get you 40. He's never going to get you 3. He's always going to get like 15 to 22, I feel like. And then that was pretty evident last year. Not Mike Evans, Mike Williams is their big play guy. And then Keenan Allen came in there, which is the consistency. Justin Herbert loves Keenan Allen. The sleeved assassin is what I call him. But he had touchdowns last year as more than he did the year before, and he's consistently in a PPR league. He's going to get you so many receptions. So that's why I really like Keenan Allen this year. I'm really targeting Keenan Allen in the third round this year. And if you can go grab him, go ahead. Mike Evans obviously is basically the Derrick Henry of wide receivers. Is that like if he doesn't have a touchdown, he's not gonna have a good week. But the good news is that Tom Brady likes throwing the ball to Mike Evans, and they get a lot of touchdowns because they're a good team. So Mike Evans is still top 10 for us. AJ Brown, on a new offense this year, new quarterback, new head coach, new system, new number 2 with Devonta Smith. I still think AJ Brown is one of, if not the most talented wide receivers in the league. I've said that from the beginning. I just don't know if I can fully trust him because he did have lackluster performances, but he does have the potential to be top 3 wide receiver. We have T. Higgins at 12. JJ obviously and I both love the Bengals offense, as everyone does. But T. Higgins is by far our highest ranked number 2 guy. And can you kind of tell why we have T. Higgins ranked this high?
Yeah, I mean, the only knock that I hear from Jamar Chase is that, oh, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, but like so that means, T. Higgins has got to be somewhere, high on,
Yeah.
rankings if that's people's only argument. And, T just, you know, became a superstar out of nowhere. He was kind of just, a wide receiver too. He's only been playing since Joe Burrow got there. And, I just feel like, T will be well in that shadowing Jamar Chase role. And I mean, if Jamar Chase is going to get 1,500 receiving yards, 1,600 receiving yards, I could easily see T. Higgins being a 1,000-yard receiver as well. Just because if Burrow's going to go out there and throw for 4,500 yards, I mean, Mixon's going to get like 800, and I mean, T. Higgins has got to be up there. And so that's why I really like him at 12. And real quick before we go on, like you were saying, me and Jay, we'll talk about him in a second, but we both love DJ Moore this year, and I feel like Keenan Allen is just a DJ Moore on a way better offense.
Yeah.
And so that's just why, Keenan Allen is in our like top 10 when maybe people will have him a lot lower.
Yeah. But yeah, we love Keenan Allen this year. Like I said, target him if you can. He isn't going to blow you away any week, but he also won't be like, ugh, Keenan Allen. I do remember, I have a story about Keenan Allen one time, though. I was going up in a match against my friend Joseph, and Keenan Allen was playing the Saints. And all I needed was Keenan Allen to get like 8 points, right? So, like, pretty easy. And then Keenan Allen, he got hurt in the second quarter with like 4.9 points, and I lost the week. So, that's my only beef with Keenan Allen. Other than that, I love him. Go and get him. It
Yeah.
just still brings back memories of that week. We just talked about DJ Moore, and he's actually going to be our number 13 guy. I'm a Panthers fan, so I love everything DJ Moore. I try to look at the bright side with the quarterback situation. So Baker Mayfield was a number one pick, has the potential to be another number one guy. He just hasn't been up performing obviously like that in Cleveland. But whether he or Matt Corral, hopefully not Sam Darnold, wins the quarterback battle, I think DJ Moore is going to be that guy. And I heard an analyst talking the other day, and he was saying how the Panthers O-line is really, really bad. So guys like Robbie Anderson, who are more deep threats, Baker's not going to have time to get the ball deep. And DJ Moore is obviously a 10-yard guy. I mean, he'll get you anything inside of 10 yards, and he'll have a bunch of YEC, like a bunch of yards after catch. So DJ Moore, we love this year. Michael Pittman, a wide receiver one with Matt Ryan, who's proved to be an MVP, obviously. Terry McLaurin with Jahan Dotson as his number 2 guy. Philadelphia is their new quarterback, and I don't necessarily like him, but I think Terry McLaurin is the same situation as AJ Brown. I think Terry McLaurin is one of the most skilled receivers in the league. He's just not been put in a good situation in Washington. Now we have a guy up here. We have Jerry Judy at 18. I know JJ is super high on Jerry Judy. I am as well. Can you kind of talk about how bringing Russell Wilson to Denver is only going to ignite Jerry Judy's talent and possibly eliminate some of Cortland Sutton's touches?
Yeah. So, I mean, I love Jerry Judy. I love Cortland Sutton this year. And, the thing is, Judy's just kind of been he's kind of had the injury bug, off and on, like both years he's been in the league. He's never had a good quarterback up until this year. And he's just such a complete wide receiver. I mean, after this season, after he proves himself with Russell Wilson, people are gonna now see what I see him as right now is just a complete wide receiver, just lengthy. I still believe he's the best wide receiver to come out of Alabama the past 3 or 4 years, even though there could be
Oh,
guys that have had better seasons, but you know Russell Wilson has always made, basic wide receivers look good, like Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett. But when you get a guy like Jerry Judy, who's just so talented and, that mile high offense, and I just really believe there's just no way Russell Wilson can have a bad year. I mean, can you
no,
imagine a headline at the end of the year being, will Russell Wilson play in Denver next year or will he retire after the Broncos go 7-10?
no,
I mean, I just don't see
definitely
that
not.
headline happening. Russell Wilson is just the guy who will win games, and Jerry Judy will be his main target. I do like Sutton, like we said, but Judy over guys like Marquise Brown and DK, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I would probably put him over Waddle and Deontay, but it's consensus, and Jay has his
I'd put
reasons
it,
for that
yep,
too. So that's just why I really like Judy this year.
yep. We love Judy. And then Marquise and DK Metcalf, both wide receiver ones. Marquise Brown, I think obviously he's a beast. He's fast. He has some problems with dropping the ball, but I'm not super concerned about that. But he has a very similar quarterback. He's going from Lamar to Kyler, both like running the ball. I mean, Kyler's obviously, I would say, a bit of a better passer, but this is for the entire season. Once DeAndre Hopkins comes back, I'm not exactly sure what Marquise Brown's role is going to be. But for now, we got him inside our top 20. All right, moving on to our quarterbacks. Number one, Josh Allen. No question about it. The best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. The best fantasy quarterback in the league, in my opinion. All around, loving Josh Allen this year. Um, Justin Herbert, too, is very, very interesting over Patrick Mahomes. But I am a Justin Herbert fan. I said since day one, I said since he was drafted that day, my friends will tell you that I said Justin Herbert will be the best quarterback in that draft. And I think he is the best quarterback in the draft. Joe Burrow has had more success, obviously, but Justin Herbert has had better stats. And I think with the potentially with the worst wide receiver core, I think. I mean, now that obviously Jamar Chase is top three, but last year he wasn't necessarily. So I love Justin Herbert this year over Patrick Mahomes. Lamb Jack, Kyler, and Jalen Hurts, all very similar. Um, Basically, what we took in this is the reason that we ranked it like this is Lamar running gets you the most points in fantasy. He's going to give you the most rushing. Kyler is Jalen Hurts senior. He's a better passer and a very similar runner. I would probably take Jalen Hurts rushing a little bit over Kyler Murray, but there's a big difference in passing. So that's why we put Jalen Hurts below Kyler Murray. Dangerous. Let's ride. And number 7, we already talked about him. Tommy B with the Bucks, obviously can never bet against him. Dak Prescott above Joe Burrow, and I know that's crazy, but JJ, you're a Cowboys fan. Why do you think Dak is gonna exceed Joe Burrow this year?
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, in order for all those guys to succeed, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, for all them to succeed, Joe Burrow has to throw them the ball. But I really do feel like the Bengals defense will have a big role in their success this year. Obviously, their offense is way better, but in order for the Bengals to, have a chance to win a Super Bowl, obviously they went last year, is for their defense to become better and take a bigger role on that team. And I feel like they won't have to score as many points this year. And Joe Mixon, yes, he's, a PPR back. He likes to catch passes out of the backfield, but, you know, like I said, I think the main reason is they won't score like as many touchdowns as they did last year. And I feel like Dak is hit or miss. Like Dak could maybe be a 14th or 15th quarterback at the end of the year, but he could also be a top 5 quarterback. And so that's why I just feel like his upside's a lot more than Joe Burrow. I mean, I feel like CeeDee Lamb's going to have a big year. And I don't know. It's just one of those years that I feel from Dak. And so that's why we both have him over Burrow.
Yeah, Derek Carr at 12 is probably a little lower than I would put him now looking at it. I think Derek Carr has the potential to be a top 4 or 5 QB as well, just because of his offense is so good. I think Derek Carr is much higher than 12 in like terms of better quarterback, but we're talking about fantasy purposes. And Derek Carr was like MVP front runner for like 6 games last year, and we're still putting up only like 17 fantasy points. It's because he throws for like 400 yards, but only has like a touchdown or two and no rushing. So I love Derek Carr. I'm a fan. I would take him after all these guys for sure. But be looking if you're in a 10-man league and Derek Carr doesn't get drafted, then be looking to add him on waivers as a backup. I really like him as a backup. And finally, we have our tight ends. This is a very interesting year for tight ends. It was a very interesting year last year because we saw them being utilized more and more. Kittle obviously was different because he was out, but Mark Andrews had a crazy, ridiculous year. We still have a number 2 though. He's aging a little bit, and I know Kelsey as well. But now with Tyreek Hill gone, Travis Kelsey is going to be that guy, I think, and I think Travis Kelsey is going to be number 1 for sure. We still have Mark Andrews at 2. I say for sure, but this guy right here, Kyle Pitts, could absolutely be the number one tight end this year, 100%. Marcus Mariota, we loved what we saw with him in Vegas when he was playing there as a backup. We absolutely loved the talent from Pitts last year when he started blossoming in the second half of the season. Um, I think he'll get way more touchdowns this year and could potentially be that tight end one. Darren Waller, I'm not a fan of Darren Waller this year, but he's still just so talented that we had to put him top five. Just his it's a crowded offense. It's a really tough division. So that's why I have Darren Waller behind George Kittle. Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson, and Dawson Knox are three very, very different tight ends. Schultz and Hawkinson are both very dependent on yards. I would say Hawkinson is more dependent on yards than Schultz. Schultz is more dependent on catches, and Dawson Knox is more dependent on touchdowns. So that's why they all have different things that, and it's whether or not you're going to trust catches more, yards more, or touchdowns more. Then any of those guys could go in any order. Now we got some interesting names at 10 and 12. We have Irb Smith Jr. and Robert Tonyan. And JJ really pushed for these guys to be on the list. I was kind of shocked, but then I did some more research and I was like, wow, this is amazing. They're looking really good. So JJ, what was your thought process behind saying Irv Smith could be that guy this year?
Yeah, and well said on 6 through 8. But Irv Smith, he's just had the injury bug so much, and even a guy like Tyler Conklin last year in that offense could have any level of success. Irv Smith is a way better talent. He's young, was drafted in 2019, and that offense. Yeah, you have Jay Jettas, you have Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, but I really do see that, Kirk Cousins, back when, is I guess Commanders, but back when the team was called the Redskins, Kirk Cousins liked to throw the ball to Jordan Reed a lot. And, I still feel like he has a soft spot for tight ends. And Irv Smith is just, I feel like he's very similar to Kyle Pitts, but just, not as explosive and not as a generational talent like Pitts is. And Tanyan, Alan Lazard is the wide receiver one in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is still back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers, coming into like his 16th year, 17th year, and he's got to throw the ball to someone. He's going to throw 4,000 yards this year. Maybe the team's not going to be as good as last year, which obviously it won't. But Robert Tonyan, when he's healthy, coming off that ACL tear, he was putting up good numbers even in the offense with Devontae Adams. And I feel like if he stays healthy, he will become one of Rodgers' main targets. And if you're one of Aaron Rodgers' main targets, then you're going to be a good fantasy player. So that's why I really do believe Tanyan on guys. I guess you can say 6 through 12 of guys that could either boom or bust. Tanyan has probably the biggest potential to boom, and
Yep.
so that's why I had to put him in the top 12. We both agreed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in 2020, Tanyan was like tight end three or something for a little bit because I remember he had like a 32-point game or something.
It was like 40, I think. He had like
Maybe,
four
maybe,
tutties.
yeah, maybe he got to 40 or something. But Tanyan is an elite talent. Don't be sleeping on Tanyan. So that wraps it up for our position rankings. Now we're gonna go to a little bit of a JJ special, and he's gonna give you your avoids for this draft season, and he's gonna give you his sleepers slash targets for this draft season. Be on the lookout for a video coming out probably next week of a mock draft that we're gonna do on the podcast. Um, we're gonna live draft. We're not gonna do the whole thing, but we're gonna do kind of our starters, and then you'll see what guys are really targeting at what position. So JJ, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so me and Jay, as we work through more podcasts through the year, we are gonna do our own specials. But I got the honor of doing the first special here of the first podcast of this season. Um, he'll definitely give us his pointers. Jay will after I give us the players. But first,
And
for
I
my
haven't I haven't
void,
heard these by the way. I don't know who he's picked or
yeah.
anything. So
So for my voids, I have Cam Akers, Brees Hall, and Jalen Waddle. So if you're watching and you're fans of those guys, I'm sure you're very hurt. But Cam Akers, so injury prone. Daryl Henderson's still there, and I feel like that offense does not like to run the ball that much. And so I just don't see Cam Akers performing, especially where he's being drafted. Brees Hall, I could be totally wrong on this, but I just have such a strong feeling that Brees Hall we'll just pull a Javonta Williams. Javonta Williams was being drafted in like the late third, early fourth round last year as a rookie running back, like Brees Hall is being this year. You got guys like Michael Carter still there. I think Tevin Coleman might still be there too. Um, and I just feel like, it's just a committee, a rookie running back. Javonte didn't perform that well last year. Obviously, he had his moments, but as a fantasy player, where he was being drafted, and I feel like that's exactly what Brees Hall is going to do this year. So that's why I have him on the avoid list. And then lastly, Waddle. I said it earlier, Tyreek Hill will take on the Devo role this year, jet sweeps, running back plays, slants, deep balls. I feel like Tua likes his first read, and that will be Tyreek Hill. Um, and I feel like Jalen Waddle won't perform as well as people think he will in his shadow. Obviously, Jalen Waddle is a great player, but I just don't see him having a big season like people expect him to have. And
Yeah.
then for I got 4 sneaky plays. I won't really talk about these that much because we already talked about Travis Etienne. Juju is my other sneaky play. Wide receiver 1 for Mahomes, whether you like him or don't. It's Mahomes, his first option at wide receiver besides Kelsey. He's going to have a big season. One guy that no one is talking about, rookie quarterback down there in Houston. Yes, he showed flashes, but, it's still Davis Mills, drafted in the 4th or 5th round of last year's draft. He has guys like Brandon Cooks to throw the ball to, but they're going to run the ball a lot because they got rid of Mark Ingram, so they must like Marlon Mack a lot. He's a running back 1, and he's being drafted like in the 8th or 9th round. And RB1s in any PPR league, if you can get them at that time, and they have the potential to be a really good star for fantasy, please draft Marlon Mack. And then lastly, talked about how I love the Giants this year, even though I'm a Cowboys fan. Galladay is trash. Daniel Jones, all he has to do is have one good year, and his main guy is going to be Kadarius Toney. Daniel
Yeah.
Jones will have a good year eventually, and I feel like it could be this year. The Giants will win games as Saquon plays better, and Kadarius Toney, showed flashes last year, but if he can stay healthy for his value, I love Toney this year. So how do you feel about that list, Jay?
Yeah. I mean, I think I really only disagree on one of them. I mean, and it's not even a full disagree. It's just like I am much higher on Brees Hall than you. I
Hmm.
think I like what the Jets are doing with their offense. What's his what's his name? What's their coach's name? Salah, right? What's his first name?
Yeah, Robert Sala.
Robert Salah. Yeah, yeah. I really like what he does with his running back systems. And Brees Hall is super talented. I mean, obviously we saw him. He went to Iowa State. Is that right?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Iowa State. So we saw him at Iowa State putting up insane numbers. I think he was drafted out of the running backs that got drafted, and he was drafted early for a reason. And as much as I do think Michael Carter will have an effect, I think that Brees Hall is going to be taking that front row seat, that front role, and potentially become really good. But other than that, I really like the guys that you mentioned. Your targets, I love Kadarius Toney. I love Travis Etienne. Um, Marlon Mack, I think he has potential to be obviously really good. I mean, all running back ones do, but I just don't know how confident I am with the Texans just in general. I think if I was drafting anyone from them, the only person I'd be drafting is Brandon Cooks, who also I have my issues with potentially, but Marlon Mack I
Yeah.
can definitely see having a big year. And then your final target, Juju Smith-Schuster. I love Juju Smith-Schuster, absolutely. I think he's top 30 because wide receiver 1 with Mahomes is definitely top 30 in my opinion. He, as much
Hmm.
as I hate his TikTok dances, and as much as he's cringe to me,
Yeah.
he's still really skilled. And we saw flashes of that in Pittsburgh, and I just really like what he can bring to the table. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but as much as I talk smack about Brees Hall, I still love what the Jets are doing. GM Joe Douglas, has brought in so many guys, and I do feel like the Jets will be a
yeah.
lot better of a team. And yeah, I mean that's just pretty much it for all those avoids and sneaky
Yeah.
plays. And for Marlon Mack, yeah, he's not the best player, and he won't have the biggest season. But like for the value and how
Oh
no one's
yeah.
talking
If you're
about
getting
him,
him in
he's
the ninth
yeah,
round, then like eighth or
yeah,
ninth round, then for sure go get him. But I mean, because
100%.
you've seen him when he was in Indianapolis. Like he was good. He's a good back, but like it's just his O line is awful. His pass, the team is just gonna be really bad in general. Um, but they upgraded in the draft on the defensive side, but their offense really lackluster. So ever since that D Hop David Johnson trade, I've just been anti Texans because that was so stupid. But D Hop suspended now, so
Yeah.
what should I say? But anyways, guys, that's gonna wrap up our first podcast of the year. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned. Make sure you hit that notification bell because we will be posting a mock draft and commentary with that mock draft coming up fairly soon. Like I said, probably next week at some point. Maybe even coming out this weekend because we'll be seeing each other in person. So um, watch out for that sneaky little drop. But other than that, thanks for watching and make sure y'all go out there and win your fantasy league. See y'all later.
Yes, sir.